And so many in the Black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
She straight up calls him a charlatan, right to his face. Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and Sunny Hostin are all on deck for this episode, and yes, it's the full powerhouse panel. As usual, they're losing their minds over, you guessed it, the same old woke talking points. This time, their guest is author Coleman Hughes, who's there to present his perspective on racial colorblindness. But the moment he challenges the narrative, things go off the rails. The hosts are visibly furious, absolutely livid, simply because he wrote a book advocating for reducing racial bias by focusing less on race, not more. It might sound like another woke book at first glance, but it's actually the complete opposite. And that's exactly what sent Whoopi, Joy, and Sunny into a meltdown. Let's jump into this clip from The View, where Coleman Hughes calmly dismantles their outrage, live, right in their own studio.
First question that I should ask you to do is explain to folks what you mean by this. Arguments for a colorblind America. What do you mean when you say that?
So a lot of people equate colorblindness to I don't see race, or to pretending not to see race. I think that's a big mistake. We all see race, right? And we're all capable of being racially biased, so we should all be self-aware to that possibility. My argument is not for that. My argument is that we should try our very best to treat people without regard to race, both in our personal lives and our public policy. And the reason I wrote this book, thank you. The reason I wrote this book is because in the past 10 years, it has become very popular to, in the name of anti-racism, teach a kind of philosophy to our children and in general that says your race is everything, right? And I think that is the wrong way to fight racism, and that's why I wrote this book at this time.
And I just point out that there is a reason for that. You know, when I went to school, getting any information about anyone's race was not taught. In history, there was no Black history. None of those things were taught.
In many ways, it's actually more unifying when there's no separate category for Black history. The concept itself, terms like Black History Month or the Black National Anthem, can unintentionally deepen divisions by highlighting difference rather than shared identity. Ideally, all of it should be woven into the broader fabric of American history, because that's what it truly is. The absence of a distinct Black history narrative in the past wasn't necessarily due to disregard, but rather a different cultural context, one that lacked today's increasingly polarized framing. To be clear, this isn't about ignoring Black contributions. Quite the opposite. It's about honoring them as integral to our national story, not as a sidebar. When we view history through a shared lens, it brings people together. After all, we're all Americans.
There has been such a pointing of very specific racial things, like women couldn't get into colleges. If you were a Black person, there are a lot of colleges wouldn't accept you. Trying to equal the playing field. I think that's what a lot of folks have been trying to do. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you.
I think that's your experience, and that's valid. You know, as a counterpoint, when I was in 5th grade, we all watched Roots together in public school.
Yeah.
So these are different experiences. I think it's also different generations. It's different parts of the country, right? We have very different cultures all living together in one country. So I'm not going to deny that, but I view this notion of a colorblind society similar to the idea of a peaceful society, which is to say it's an ideal, it's a North Star. And the point is not that we're ever going to get there. We're not going to touch it, but we have to know when we're going forward and when we're going backwards. And we're going backwards when we're doing woke kindergarten in San Francisco, you know, with you didn't hear about the story?
No, but wait, I just want to get to the article. Actually, you believe that public policies that address socioeconomic differences would be better at benefiting disadvantaged groups, and that race-based policies often hurt the very people they're trying to help. What are some examples of policies that would be better at reducing racial disparities?
So my overall argument is that class, socioeconomics, is a better proxy for disadvantage. We all want to help the disadvantaged, and the question is, how do we identify them, right? The default right now in a lot of areas of policy is to use, you know, Black and Hispanic identity.
That mindset is incredibly racist, by the way. Assuming someone is disadvantaged solely because they're Black is a textbook example of the white savior complex, the very thing the so-called woke crowd claims to oppose. And yet, ironically, they embody it. They're the ones perpetuating the idea that people of color need rescuing simply because of their race. The underlying message is, you're Black, Hispanic, or whatever, so I, being more capable, must help you. That's not compassion, that's condescension. And it's rooted in a sense of superiority. The truth is, it doesn't have to be this way. Treating people as equals means respecting their agency, not assuming they're helpless. Anything less is not just patronizing, it's fundamentally racist.
You actually get a better picture of who needs help by looking at socioeconomics and income. That picks out people in a more accurate way.
Not my question, but when you say that socioeconomics picks out people in a better way than race, when you do look at the socioeconomics, you see the huge disparity between white households and Black households. You see the huge disparity between white households and Hispanic households. So your argument, and I've read your book twice because I wanted to give it a chance, your argument that race has no place in that equation is really fundamentally flawed. In my opinion.
Well, they're two separate questions. One is whether each racial group is socioeconomically the same. I agree with you. They're not.
Yeah, they're not, and the stats show that.
Yeah, of course, I agree with that fully. The question is how do you address that in a way that actually targets poverty the best?
What's the point of turning everything into a race issue when it clearly isn't? If the real concern is poverty or socioeconomic inequality, then that's where the focus should be, not skin color. Looking at hard data on income and opportunity gives a much clearer, more accurate picture. Not all black Americans are poor, and not all white Americans are wealthy. There are struggling white families just as there are successful black families. So why keep forcing everything into a racial narrative that doesn't hold true across the board? Focusing on socioeconomic status gives us real insight without fueling division. That's what makes it so frustrating when figures like Whoopi Goldberg, Sunny Hostin, and others on The View insist on framing every issue through race. It's just not the most accurate lens for understanding the country. If we truly care about solving problems, we need to look at class and status. It's objective, data-driven, and far less polarizing.
And what Martin Luther King wrote in his book, Why We Can't Wait, is he called it, we need a Bill of Rights for the Disadvantaged. And he said, yes, we should address racial inequality, yes, we should address the legacy of slavery, but the way to do that is on the basis of class. And that will disproportionately target blacks and Hispanics because they're disproportionately poor, but it will be doing so in a way that also helps the white poor, in a way that addresses poverty as the thing to be addressed.
That part is true, but as you are a student of Dr. King, I'm not only a student of Dr. King, I know his daughter, Bernice, right? So I'm going to get to my question.
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I think the premise is fundamentally flawed. You claim that colorblindness was the goal.
Notice how Sunny Hostin keeps shifting the subject every time he makes a logical point she can't refute. When he suggests that focusing on class, not race, would actually benefit everyone who's struggling, including many black and Hispanic Americans as well as poor white communities, she doesn't engage with the substance of the argument. Instead, she sidesteps it entirely. Why? Because there's no real counterpoint, at least not one that holds up. But you can sense her discomfort with the idea. It's as if acknowledging the needs of poor white Americans doesn't fit the narrative she's pushing, and she'd rather avoid the topic altogether.
Based upon Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, content of character versus the color of skin. Bernice, Dr. King's daughter, points out that 4 years after giving that speech, actually, Dr. King also said this: a society that has done something special against the Negro for hundreds of years must now do something special for Negroes. He also said in 1968, it was about less than a week before he was assassinated, this country never stops to realize that they owe a people kept in slavery for 244 years. So rather than class, he did write about that earlier on. Right before his death, he made the argument for racial equality and racial reparations. And so your argument for colorblindness, I think, is something that the right has co-opted. And so many in the black community, if I'm being honest with you, because I want to be, believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
You're literally calling the guy a charlatan to his face. Just rewind the clip and watch Joy Behar's reaction. It's priceless. Pay close attention to how she responds to what Sunny Hostin just said. You can see it all over her face.
Believe that you are being used as a pawn by the right and that you're a charlatan of sorts.
He's not a Republican.
So how do you...
You've never voted for
You said that you're a conservative. No, you did. You actually said that in the podcast that you did 2 weeks ago.
I said I was a conservative.
Yes.
Even the other host on The View looked visibly uncomfortable after that moment. What Sunny Hostin did, calling their guest a charlatan straight to his face, was so over the top that you could practically see the mood shift on set. Suddenly, the rest of the panel seemed to move into damage control, trying to soften the blow and defend him. It was wild to watch, just plain crazy.
So, but my question to you is, how do you respond to those critics?
So, first thing I think it's very important. The quote that you just pointed out about doing something special for the Negro, that's from the book Why We Can't Wait that I just mentioned.
Yes.
A couple paragraphs later, he lays out exactly what that something special was,
Yes.
and it was the Bill of Rights for the Disadvantaged, a broad class-based policy.
But he also says you must include race.
No, he didn't. He says it's
Yes, he does.
Okay, well, everyone should go read the book Why We Can't Wait. Let's not get sidetracked by that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've been co-opted by anyone. I've only voted twice, both for Democrats. Although I'm an independent, I would vote for a Republican, probably a non-Trump Republican if they were compelling.
If you're enjoying this kind of content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps a lot and keeps this content coming. Now, let's jump back into the video.
I don't think there's any evidence I've been co-opted by anyone, and I think that's an ad hominem tactic people use to not address really the important conversations we're having here. And I think it's better, and it would be better for everyone if we stuck to the topics rather than making it about me. With
It's
no
not about you,
evidence.
but
that
I want to give you the opportunity to respond to
I appreciate
the criticism.
I appreciate it. There's no evidence that I've been co-opted by anyone. I have an independent podcast. I work for CNN as an analyst. I write for the Free Press. I'm independent in all of these endeavors, and no one is paying me to say what I'm saying. I'm saying it because I feel it.
It's honestly ridiculous how Sunny Hostin reacts. He simply made a valid, logical point. Why does the focus always have to be exclusively on Black or Hispanic communities, as if poverty only affects non-white people? Why not focus on class instead? That way, we still end up helping many Black and Hispanic Americans who are disproportionately affected by poverty, but we also support struggling white communities too. And how does Sunny respond? She gets emotional and immediately resorts to ad hominem attacks, calling him a charlatan instead of addressing the actual argument. It's telling, and frankly, disappointing.
Here. So in the past decade, it feels like racial tensions have gotten worse. Do you see that way, and what do you attribute it to?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at all the data, it finds that race relations were getting better until about 2013. That year, you had a majority of Black, Hispanic, and white Americans saying race relations were good, and then you just see it nosedive. And 2013, people like to blame, Republicans like to blame Obama. It wasn't his fault. Democrats like to blame Trump. It was actually just technology. We all got social media and smartphones, and we had videos being promoted in the algorithm that were unrepresentative, and it created this impression that racism was on the rise when in fact it had been on the decline for decades.
And it allowed attribute that at all to foreign actors getting involved in technology?
Yes, Russia tries to meddle, absolutely, but I don't think we can blame foreign actors. This is a homegrown problem.
Okay. I have a question, because you write that the anti-racism movement, there are a couple of people, I don't even know who they are, maybe
Robin DiAngelo.
Robin DiAngelo,
Yeah.
Ibram Kendi, for instance.
Okay. Well, you say that is just another form of racism, and you even say there's a lot in common with white supremacy. How can you compare those two things? You talk about anti-racism, you're comparing it to white supremacy.
Because they both view your race as an extremely significant part of who you are. So white supremacists, they obviously say, we all know what they say, okay? Neo-racists like Robin DiAngelo, they say that to be white is to be ignorant, for example. Well, this is a racial stereotype, and I want to call a spade and say this is not the style of anti-racism we have to be teaching our kids. We should be teaching them that your race is not a significant feature of who you are. Who you are is your character, your value, and your skin color doesn't say anything about that.
Did you catch how the audience starts applauding when he says that? It's a simple, common-sense statement. Your race or skin color shouldn't define how people judge you. And yet, Sunny Hostin clearly doesn't like it. Neither does Whoopi Goldberg. Joy Behar looks uncomfortable too. Every time he says something grounded in basic fairness and logic, it gets a positive reaction, because deep down, people know it's true. But for some reason, that truth seems offensive to the hosts of The View, especially Sunny and Whoopi. They don't want to hear it. They resist it. It's as if they're clinging to a worldview where everything has to be about race, even if that means dismissing reason to preserve their narrative. And frankly, that mindset is not just frustrating, it's toxic.
And so here we go. Thank you, Coleman Hughes, for coming, because this is a show of lots of different opinions, and we are multi-generational.
Let's be real, The View isn't exactly known for showcasing a wide range of opinions. Most of the time, the hosts seem to be reading from the same script, and honestly, it feels like they're paid to push a specific narrative. What do you think? Things got so intense during Coleman Hughes's appearance that even the other hosts seemed to distance themselves from Sunny Hostin, and the audience, The View's own audience, actually started applauding when it became obvious the hosts were uncomfortable. It was a moment where the crowd basically turned on them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Coleman Hughes shutting down the woke takes from Sunny Hostin, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, and the rest of the panel. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and tap the bell so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching, see you in the next video.